The scale is deceiving you every single morning in a manner that is quietly costing you a decade of functional life. You step onto it, observe the number drop, and feel as though you are winning. However, here is the truth that the diet industry has every financial incentive to conceal. Losing weight without building muscle after the age of 55 is not merely ineffective. For many men, it is making things measurably worse. A process is occurring inside your body right now called sarcopenia. It is silent, relentless, and it begins long before you actually feel it. Stay with me, because the next 15 minutes will change everything. Here is what we are covering today. First, why the just lose weight advice you have been following is built on a broken model of what the aging male body actually requires. Second, why your muscle is not just tissue that makes you look strong, but a living pharmaceutical factory that your brain, heart, immune system, and metabolism are all depending on. And most men are running it into the ground. Third, the fat trap, the cruel biological paradox that causes men who only focus on weight loss to end up weaker than when they started. Fourth, why grip strength is one of the most powerful predictors of how long you will actually live and what it tells you to do right now. And at the end, one insight almost no one in the health space talks about. Something that connects your muscles to your mind in a way that reframes this entire conversation. Do not skip ahead, as the pieces build on each other. Picture a man, 62 years old, with slightly high blood pressure. His doctor says, "We need to get your weight down." So he does what responsible men do. He cuts portions, starts walking, and switches from steak to salad. 6 months later, 20 pounds are gone. His doctor is pleased, and he feels like he has cracked the code. But here is what nobody measured. Of those 20 pounds, a significant portion was not fat. It was muscle. Because he was in a caloric deficit with no resistance training, his body followed millions of years of survival programming and cannibalized the very tissue that was keeping him strong, stable, and metabolically alive. Research is clear on this. Lean mass loss of 5% or more was associated with a doubled risk of all-cause mortality in older men who lost weight without preserving muscle. That is a double risk, not a marginal increase. Now, think about what that man actually looks like after losing those 20 pounds the wrong way. He weighs less, but as a proportion of his body, he is carrying more fat and less muscle. His resting metabolism has slowed because muscle is the most metabolically expensive tissue you have. It burns calories even while you sit still. His joints have less structural support, his balance is subtly worse, and his capacity to recover from illness or injury has quietly declined. He looks like he succeeded, but biologically he has set himself up for a harder decade. This is what researchers call sarcopenic obesity. You can be clinically normal on the scale while carrying a dangerous fat-to-muscle imbalance inside. Approximately 30% of American men over 60 have clinically significant sarcopenia. By age 80, that number climbs to 50%. 1 in 2 men over 80 are walking around with the foundation of their physical life quietly crumbling beneath them. The scale does not measure what matters at this stage anymore. The solution is not just about looking stronger. It is about something happening at a cellular level that changes the argument entirely. When you think about what muscle does, you probably think it lifts things, looks strong, or maybe keeps you from needing a cane. That is the visible 10%. Here is the other 90%. Your skeletal muscle is one of the most powerful endocrine organs in the human body. When your muscles contract and you challenge them with resistance, they release a cascade of biochemical signals into your bloodstream called myokines. These signals regulate systems all over your body that you would never think to connect to a bicep curl. Myokines, such as IL-6, IGF-1, irisin, and BDNF, act as molecular messengers that influence whole-body metabolism, reduce chronic inflammation, and promote neuroplasticity. When muscles work, irisin prompts the conversion of white fat to metabolically active brown fat, ramping up energy expenditure. BDNF, released during resistance exercise, travels to the brain and supports neuron growth and cognitive function. Every time a man over 55 does a set of resistance training, he is not just building a stronger back, he is flooding his system with anti-inflammatory compounds. He is triggering fat conversion and sending growth signals to his brain that support memory and focus. He is administering a whole-body medicine that no pharmaceutical company can patent because it only exists inside the living, working muscle of a physically active man. Muscle is medicine for the entire body. Sarcopenia, or muscle loss, does not just make you physically weaker, it silences this entire signaling system. The anti-inflammatory myokines stop flowing, the metabolic signals go quiet, and the neuroprotective compounds fall off. That silence is not neutral, it is actively degenerative. The men who age fastest are not always the ones with the worst genetics or luck. They are often the ones who, without knowing it, let their pharmaceutical factory go dark year by year because no one ever told them what they were losing. This is not about longevity statistics. It is about the specific, measurable quality of the years you have left. Open and close your right hand. Make a fist and hold it. That movement contains more information about your future than almost any blood test your doctor has ever ordered. Grip strength is one of the most consistently validated predictors of mortality, disability, and cognitive decline in older men in scientific literature. When researchers defined sarcopenia using low grip strength and slow walking speed, prevalence rose from 5% at age 65 to 69 to over 36% at age 85 to 89. More than 1 in 3 men in their late 80s are functionally sarcopenic by these measures. The data gets sharper. Loss of strength is a more consistent risk factor for disability and death than even loss of muscle mass itself. Not weight, not BMI, not cholesterol, strength. Functional, measurable, trainable strength. Sarcopenia leads directly to frailty, reduced mobility, and dramatically elevated fall risk. Men with sarcopenia have 2.3 times the risk of suffering a low-trauma fracture, such as a broken hip, collarbone, wrist, or leg, compared to men with healthy muscle mass. A broken hip at 68 is not just a broken hip. It is months of immobility and accelerated muscle loss on top of existing loss. It is the beginning for many men of a permanent decline they never fully recover from. Studies show that in the year following a hip fracture, mortality rates in older adults are sobering, not because of the break itself, but because of everything that cascades from sudden, severe inactivity. Most men do not fail because they are weak. They fail because no one ever told them that building strength was the most critical health decision available to them. They spent years chasing a number on a scale instead. The fix is specific and not complicated. Resistance training, lifting weights, using resistance bands, or bodyweight training with progressive overload is the direct stimulus that tells your body to preserve and build muscle. It triggers the anabolic hormonal response, activates the myokine cascade, and increases bone density alongside muscle density. Research shows men can slow or even reverse the effects of sarcopenia with the right exercise and nutrition. Reverse, not just slow, but reverse. Even men who begin resistance training for the first time in their 60s experience meaningful improvements in strength, balance, and independence. Age slows the rate of adaptation, but it does not eliminate it. Your body still knows how to build. You just have to give it the signal. However, knowing you need to build muscle and understanding the full picture of why are two completely different things. The next point connects something most men never consider, and it changes everything about how you think about every rep you will ever do. Think about the men you know who age the best, mentally sharp, present, and engaged. Now, think about the men who declined fastest, foggy, slow, and retreating from the world a little more each year. There is almost always a physical component running parallel to that cognitive trajectory. The connection between your muscles and your brain is not metaphorical. It is biochemical, direct, and profoundly significant for men over 55. Contracting muscles release BDNF, or brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Locally, it maintains the quality of neuromuscular junctions. Systemically, it travels to the brain and promotes the growth of new neurons and the health of existing ones. Research shows that exercise increases muscle-derived BDNF, and those elevated levels remain in circulation for up to 24 hours after a single session. One resistance training session sends protective signals to your brain that last the entire following day. Resistance training also releases irisin and IGF-1, which improve memory, verbal fluency, and neuroplasticity in older adults. Leg-focused exercises like squats, step-ups, and lunges consistently produce some of the strongest cognitive improvements in research on aging populations. Squats protect your memory, not as a motivational slogan, but as a peer-reviewed biochemical reality. Age-related decline is characterized by the simultaneous downregulation of protective factors like irisin and the upregulation of pro-degenerative inflammatory signals. The muscle-bone-brain axis deteriorates together or is maintained together. They are not separate systems. They are one interconnected architecture, and resistance training is the single most effective intervention that addresses all three simultaneously. Weight loss is a cosmetic target, but muscle building is a survival strategy. One is about how you look, the other is about protecting the full spectrum of who you are, your strength, your independence, and your memory. Two kinds of men start training at 60. The first man is there to lose weight. He has a number in his head and a deadline, like a wedding, a checkup, or a reunion. He is motivated by what he wants to get rid of. When the deadline passes, the motivation disappears because goals end, and when goals end, the behavior ends with them. The second man has made an identity decision. He is not there to lose something. He is there because he is the kind of man who takes care of his body and understands that the body he builds in his 60s is the body that carries him through his 70s and 80s. Behavioral science is unambiguous. Identity-based motivation is fundamentally more durable than outcome-based motivation. When you define yourself as someone who trains, the behavior becomes part of who you are, not something you are temporarily doing. Sedentary behavior is not a neutral state. It is an active biological force working against you. Every day without resistance training is a day the process of decline moves forward, unchallenged. But the man who has made the identity shift does not experience training as something he has to do. It is something he gets to do, evidence of what he values. Your body is not a trophy. It is a vehicle. Strong men visit their grandchildren, travel, think clearly, and move with confidence. Men who lose the muscle shrink quietly until their world becomes smaller. The scale is a distraction. The question is, what will your life look like at 75 or 80? The answer is being determined right now by whether or not you choose to build. Losing weight without muscle leaves you biologically weaker. Your muscles are a pharmaceutical factory. Do not let it go dark. Functional strength is within your control, and every rep is a cognitive investment. You are not too old. You are exactly on time. Build the muscle, not for the mirror, but for the life. If this story has changed the way you perceive the strength of your own body and the future of your health, please subscribe to the channel and like this video. We are uncovering the biological truths that have been overlooked for too long. Invest in your strength and secure your future. The next chapter of your vitality begins now.